Welcome everyone. It's the 2020 Great Ontario Yield Tour. It's the first ever virtual event. It is September 3rd, 2020. My name is Moe Agostino, Chief Commodity Strategist with Farms.com. We're doing a quick 15-minute presentation on the 2020-21 U.S. and global corn market outlook. Denise will open it up to questions at the end, but we're going to start off with the global corn ending stocks. Then we'll look at U.S. numbers, and then we'll finish off with talking about some of the local Ontario charts. 2020 global corn ending stocks have been lowered the last 4 years. What happens from here on in will depend on how large that U.S. corn crop is. It looks like it's trending higher, but and that was as of the August crop report from the USDA. But after the DERECHO storm and some of the dry weather through Iowa and in the month of August, looks like that number could be lower. So where this number ends up will largely depend on how much smaller that U.S. crop is. That DERECHO storm that was 500 miles long and 100 miles wide has done a lot of damage, particularly in Iowa. Some of the private analyst estimates conservatively are estimating about 300 million bushel loss. But I think both the private analysts and USDA are underestimating what the damage is. There's been lots of reports since the storm here and since the August report where corn ears are turning, lots of mold in those corn ears. A dry August and very little moisture from hurricanes Marco, Laura is probably going to equate to lower yields. I think instead of getting that slow cooker, that good finish for corn, we're shutting down. In 2012, Hurricane Isaac blanketed the U.S. Midwest with 1 to 3 inches of moisture and saved that soybean crop. And that was a very dry year. Many were hoping that Marco or Laura could also provide some moisture, but Marco went towards LA and Laura clipped the southern United States, eastern board, and clipped the lower Ohio Valley. So unfortunately, it was a dry August, and it's been dry for the first week of September, and lots of reports from farmers that soybean plants and experts soybean plants are shutting down. Iowa in a drought similar to 2012 with 61% a moderate drought and 29% severe. Again, I think many analysts are underestimating, including the USDA is underestimating the damage from this drought. The US dollar index remains in a downward sloping downtrend. That's very supportive to higher US exports moving forward. I think in an election year, Trump wants to maintain a lower US dollar to help with those higher exports. Next level is probably 90. We're breaking below 92. But the US dollar has become less of a safe haven currency, largely because of the higher COVID-19 cases, and the government spending a little bit too much money to keep the economy stimulated and get past this COVID-19 environment. But at some point, I think that the US dollar, once we get past elections, could start to recover some. The Chinese buying is on autopilot. 2021 US corn exports record strong. We've never seen exports this strong to China. But again, remember that the export portion of the balance sheet is smaller than compared to the soybeans, but nonetheless, it's helping the balance sheet with higher exports and lower ending stocks. And I think it should continue through year end. 2020 US corn yield trending lower. So it looked like a record crop, but unfortunately with DERECHO and some of the dryness across Iowa and the Western Corn Belt through August, it looks like it's going to be a lower yield. Crop Scout coordinator lowered his yield down to 176. When we ended our U.S. Corn Belt crop tour mid-July, we were suggesting a 173, 175 yield on the U.S. corn, but we suggested that if we got a good finish, we could see a record crop, but we're not getting that good finish, and it could be something smaller. There's no disaster in the making. although nobody expected that derecho storm to hit the U.S. as hard as it did. U.S. corn ending stocks were trending higher as of the August crop report from the USDA, but those numbers are going to start to come down. So we're at 2.7 billion, and I think we're now starting, when you include the derecho storm damage, lower yields, maybe a loss of acres of another 500,000, we could be down in that 2.324 billion bushel mark. I don't know if we can get down below 2 billion, but that's still a possibility. 2021 South American corn production looking record strong. Brazil expected to produce 107 million metric ton crop, up 4 million metric tons. When you include that with Argentina, it looks like it's going to be record strong. So that could provide some competition sometime late next year. Canadian dollar remains in an upward sloping uptrend. Look for a retest of 2020 highs at 77. Again, largely being supported by that lower US dollar and higher crude oil prices. But this time of the year, historically, seasonally, the Canadian dollar can move lower. So we probably have the highs behind us until we get into 2021. There's also some enthusiasm that the Canadian economy is going to recover from the COVID-19 environment. But you can see around mid-March, we hit a 5-year low, and you can see the 90 degrees to the downside. And to us, that was just based solely on fear, and we took advantage of that by locking in some wheat and basis. We got aggressive with wheat and soybean basis. So I think the biggest risk going into 2021 is basis. So you can see on the chart that the Canadian dollar hit that 5-year low and provided an opportunity to do basis. Well, so the basis at the time wasn't quite as good as some of the soybean or wheat basis, and since then the lower dollar didn't really impact the basis as much as the other two, but you can see since then the basis has moved higher because of a lack of supplies and higher demand. Now, both last year and this year, we told producers to keep your high quality number 2 corn through September. We find that to each year, in a year when demand is strong and supplies are lacking, the end users seem to be getting desperate through that September period. So looks like that's what's going to be happening again this year. We'll see how high it gets. We've heard as high as $5.70 per bushel flat price. We might just get up to that $6 or better delivered. Funds have been buying corn futures up 238,000 in 6 months, still short 61,000, but you can see that they can go long 429,000 contracts as well. So still got a long ways to go to get to that level, but it's going to be tough unless the USDA can confirm a lot of what we've been talking here today. December corn futures need to break above the 15-year channel resistance high at 363. We've tried to do it, haven't confirmed it yet. It's also where the 200-day moving average is. Probably getting a little ahead of itself here short term, but if we can sustain a weekly close above that 363, it projects to a year-end rally of 4407. Again, the USDA would have to confirm a lot of what we've been talking about, but there's a bigger and bigger chance, because demand has been strong from China, that this most likely can occur by year end. If we can break 407 next spring, summer, we could see a 465 high. Thank you so much for joining us today, and Denise is now going to open up the questions. If we can't answer all the questions, feel free to check out our e-booth and chat with us there, and we'll answer more questions at the e-booth. Take care.